Welcome to the Deep Dive. We dive into the source material that matters, giving you the shortcut to being, well, truly well-informed.
And for this deep dive, we are centering on one massive, really game-changing idea.
Yeah, it all comes from Adam Grant's comprehensive guide, Hidden Potential, the science of achieving greater things.
So our mission today really is to go beyond just a surface read of this. We're here to challenge a really deeply ingrained cultural myth.
Which is?
The idea that achievement is mostly about, innate talent or being gifted.
Right, that you've either got it or you don't.
Exactly. And Grant argues that if you believe potential is fixed, you are just fundamentally limiting your own opportunities.
That's the core challenge, isn't it? Grant, through, some rigorous science and really compelling stories, he argues that potential is anything but fixed.
It's not fixed at all.
It's cultivated.
Yeah.
You build it through specific effort, through your character, and the systems you create around yourself.
So we're going to pull out the most actionable habits and the systems thinking you need to unlock that potential.
Whether that's for yourself or, if you're managing a team.
Yeah. What's immediately clear from all the research is that we spend way too much time looking at the raw material, that initial talent.
And not enough time on what?
On the engine of development itself.
Okay, so let's unpack that fundamental shift. Grant's saying that true potential doesn't come from where you start.
Nope.
It's focused entirely on learnable skills.
And we're talking about traits that, people often just dismiss as soft skills.
Like persistence, curiosity, resilience.
Exactly. This connects directly to Carol Dweck's research on growth mindset.
Right, the idea that just believing you can develop actually changes the outcome.
It's huge. And if you connect this to the bigger picture, it means character skills become the absolute priority, non-negotiable.
So things like grit, humility, emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
They're not just nice to haves.
They're not supplementary at all. The sources are overwhelming on this. These skills are more predictive of long-term achievement than, say, pure cognitive ability.
More than IQ.
Way more. A high IQ might get you your first job, but it's your character that's going to determine your trajectory for the next 20 years.
And if character is prioritized, then our whole relationship with mistakes, with failure, that it has to change completely.
It has to.
You can't be resilient if you're terrified of failing. Grant's really explicit about this. Failure is not a dead end.
It's data. It's essential data.
Okay, but what do we do with that specifically?
Yeah.
Beyond just the platitude of learn from your mistakes, how does he make that actionable?
So that's where this specific technique comes in. He calls it the bounce back audit.
A bounce back audit.
Yeah. High achievers aren't just shrugging off failures. They are performing a systematic review.
Like a post-mortem.
An immediate objective post-mortem. It asks three very distinct questions. First, what was the specific systematic cause of the failure? Second, what new information did this mistake reveal? And third, and this is the critical part, what singular necessary action has to be revised in the strategy right now?
So you ensure that exact failure point is eliminated.
You transform the emotion of failure into an engineering problem.
I like that. You turn this thing into a checklist.
Yeah.
So it's about being adaptive, not defensive.
Exactly.
Which it sounds like that all comes down to consistent momentum.
Yeah.
That brings us to the daily habits we need to actually sustain it.
Yeah, for sure. Grant really stresses that progress is never a straight line. It's non-linear.
So continuous improvement is more about consistency than intensity.
Precisely. The goal is lifelong learning, incremental growth. And to keep that motivation going for the long haul, he says you have to set up intentional feedback loops. And this is crucial structured reflection habits.
Okay, let's dig into that reflection piece, because I think most of us reflect sort of informally, but Grant has this deliberate technique, potential reflection journaling.
Yes.
What makes that different from just, keeping a diary?
It's the structured forward-looking part of it. Potential reflection is all about documenting the process, not just the achievement.
So instead of, I finished the project.
Right. Instead of that, you'd write, I really struggled with chapter 3, and here is the specific skill I had to learn to actually finish it.
Ah, okay. So you're intentionally identifying the gap between who you are now and your future potential.
And you explicitly plan your next stretch goal. You forecast the character skills you'll need to activate to get there. It's structured preparation, not just, documenting the past.
That makes the whole process of growth feel much more intentional. And growth, it often feels pretty uncomfortable.
It should.
Which ties right into this concept of planned discomfort.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Growth requires you to be an imperfectionist. Grant says you have to step into the unknown before you feel totally ready.
Because that feeling of anxiety, of being a little overwhelmed.
That discomfort, that's the signal. That's the actual signal that you are operating outside your competence zone.
Which means you're progressing.
Right. And this mindset, it supports other themes like deliberate play, just experimenting and being a sponge for new information without all the pressure.
We're talking a lot about deliberate effort here, which is key. But, you can't totally ignore the role of luck in people's careers.
No, you can't. Absolutely not. But Grant has this fantastic counter-argument.
Which is?
You can systematically engineer your luck. Serendipity is rarely just random.
Okay.
It's about increasing your surface area for potential breakthroughs. So that means being meticulously prepared, being proactive about seeking out diverse connections.
And being open to things that might seem, irrelevant at first.
Exactly. What looks like a random stroke of good fortune, the perfect opportunity just lands in someone's lap.
Right.
It's almost always preceded by this careful, deliberate prep that lets that person recognize and seize the moment when it shows up.
That really shifts the perspective from passively waiting for the stars to align to actively designing the conditions for alignment. So let's pivot a bit. We've talked about the individual, the character, the habits. Let's talk about the environment. Grant stresses that a person's potential is always constrained by the systems around them.
Oh, environments matter profoundly. To unlock that collective hidden potential, you have to design supportive systems.
And that's more than just, putting up motivational posters in the office.
It's way more. It means real mentorship structures, robust and candid feedback systems that are non-punitive and highly inclusive teams.
So for any managers or leaders listening, this is critical. How do you actually foster that collective genius when the instinct is always to just rely on your proven star?
Well, it starts with understanding that diversity isn't just a box to check. It's an engine for creativity.
Okay.
Diverse teams and skills, background, thinking, they introduce a sort of cognitive friction which forces better problem solving.
So the leader's role is to what? Manage that friction?
The leader's role is essential. They have to adopt practices that actively pull contributions from everyone, especially the quiet ones, the unconventional thinkers, the ones who haven't had a big win yet. You have to design the meeting so everyone's potential gets activated.
Which also means we have to radically rethink how we even measure talent in the first place, doesn't it?
It has to.
If we're just judging people on their current skills, we're missing all that potential. Traditional things like resumes, prestige degrees, test scores.
They often fail to capture late bloomers or talents that only show up under specific conditions.
Right. So that's a key critique Grant has against, status quo hiring.
It is. He says organizations need to move toward more holistic ways of evaluating people that focus on their capacity for growth.
So instead of just looking at credentials.
You prioritize things like trial tasks, work samples, and this is key, an assessment of a candidate's growth trajectory and their core character skills.
You're looking at future capability, not just past achievement.
Exactly.
The power of changing that system is probably best shown by some of the stories in the book, like the incredible story of Jose Hernandez.
Oh, it's an amazing story.
Tell us a bit about how his experience really underlines this whole point.
So Hernandez was a migrant farm worker, and his dream was to be an astronaut. He applied to NASA 11 times.
11 times. Wow.
And he was rejected for years. Now, if NASA had only relied on those traditional metrics of early performance or, just stopped after the second rejection, his potential would have stayed hidden.
But he got in.
He got in because he didn't rely on some innate genius. He applied deliberate effort. He systematically acquired every single skill NASA demanded, did his own bounce-back audits, and just showed this relentless persistence.
And his eventual acceptance was proof that the system had been undervaluing his character and his capacity to grow.
It's such a powerful argument for giving people multiple chances to show what they can become.
Right. So it shifts the focus back to equity and resilience. Okay, so we've analyzed the core messages. Let's zoom out a bit. What are the undeniable strengths of Grant's whole argument?
The primary strength is just its research density. The arguments are heavily research-driven, backed by solid empirical evidence, case studies, psychological science. Secondly, it's a very inclusive view. By focusing on underdogs and late bloomers, he's advocating for more equitable systems.
Right, pushing back against just glorifying the prodigy.
Exactly. And third, That systems perspective is just immensely valuable. It gives specific prescriptions for institutional change, whether it's in schools or sports or the workplace.
But the analysis also points out where the work, hits some friction. Critics have noted there's a reliance on these really compelling anecdotes, which are inspiring, but
they can make the advice feel a little less rigorous or maybe not as replicable for every single person.
And because the book is so broad, it covers individual development and system change.
That breadth, that leads directly to the biggest implementation challenge.
Which is what?
While you, as an individual listener, you can start your potential reflection journal tomorrow, right?
Sure.
But it's massively difficult to go and redesign your company's entire hiring process.
That requires huge buy-in.
Huge, sustained organizational buy-in from leadership. They're not things one motivated person can just easily achieve.
So we've covered the mindset, the habits, the supportive environment. What is the one, the distilled takeaway we want people to leave this deep dive with?
I think there are two core lessons that should drive immediate action. First, cultivate character over talent.
Okay.
Focus your energy on strengthening grit, humility, persistence. Those are the real long-term predictors.
Yeah, and the second?
Design supportive systems. Whether you're building your own habits or managing a team, you have to intentionally value growth trajectories over just momentary peaks in performance.
Right. So this gives you actionable habits for yourself and valuable prescriptions if you manage or teach others.
Exactly.
All right. And here's the final provocative thought for you to consider. It's pulled directly from the source material. Grant notes that when people assess your skills, they put more weight on your peaks than on your troughs.
They judge you by your best work, not your average work.
So the question we'll leave you with is this. Knowing that your future depends on your current effort and your systems, how can you use these principles, deliberate effort, continuous improvement starting today, to make sure your next achievement sets a new, higher peak?
Instead of just settling for a comfortable plateau.
That's the power of hidden potential. And that's all for this deep dive.